eclipse, no sound. Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this taped edition of Connect with Me here on the showroom floor at Ventura TV. Today we're talking about the 2017 eclipse. It's happening right now as I speak, although this is a tape show. Connect with Me starts right now.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
A special taped edition of Connect with Me on this Monday morning. Glad you are here. We're talking about the 2017 eclipse that's happening as I speak. It started shortly after 9 o'clock this morning on Monday. That's exactly right. Everybody has been waiting for this. Well, a lot of people have. They've been waiting for a lifetime for this. My goodness gracious sakes alive. We have an expert in the house. We'll talk about that in just a moment. In the meantime, you're watching us live on Comcast, channel 375, as usual, 13.1 and 43.6 over-the-air broadcast. And then the replay of this program comes up later in the day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube, 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. After that, my friends, you can watch it on YouTube forever. As I said, it's happening right now as I speak, the 2017 version of the eclipse. The first eclipse to crisscross the entire country, the first time the entire country in nearly 100 years. Let's roll the videotape and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. 1918 was the last time this happened, and this morning you will witness history. You better protect your eyes, though, if you're looking at the sun. More on that in just a moment. The red line you see is the path of totality, a 70-mile path from Lincoln City, Oregon, all the way across the fruited plain and down to Charleston, South Carolina. Experts say this is a once, maybe a twice-in-a-lifetime phenomenon. A solar eclipse is when the moon completely covers the sun. You have to be in the path of totality. Here in Fresno, you'll get about 72% coverage of the sun, and it should feel like it's nighttime. To a certain extent, it will. If you look at the eclipse without the right glasses, it can burn a hole right through your eyeball. It can fry the retina, and it won't heal, my friends. When you get glasses, make sure they are certified by the International Organization of Standardization. That would be ISO. Beware, be careful. It's happening right now. It's crisscrossing across the country. You'll see that red line. It'll end up in Charleston, South Carolina. Live in our studio right now is Dr. Stephen White, the Executive Director of the Fresno State Planetarium. By the way, the planetarium is all shut down today. They're all up in Oregon except for Dr. White. He's here with us now. Dr. White, welcome to the program. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here. As it's happening right now, as we speak, what is happening? The moon is between the sun, but what does that mean?
There's a perfect alignment between the sun, the moon, and the earth, and specifically the moon's shadow is falling on the earth, and that usually doesn't happen.
Why doesn't it usually happen? Why is this such a rare phenomenon?
Well, the moon actually comes between the earth and the sun once a month. It's called new moon, the period of time when you can't see the moon. The moon's out in the daytime. However, the moon's orbit is tipped by 5 degrees, so usually the moon is just a little too high and the shadow misses the earth, or it's a little too low, the shadow misses the earth. But today, they're in a perfect alignment.
Why?
And that shadow is coming.
Why is it so perfect today?
Because of the geometry. We have something called the line of nodes, and when that line of nodes points at the sun, we can get the eclipse. It can happen twice a year.
Really?
However, yeah, but usually we don't get an eclipse because it also has to be new moon. So you have to have the alignment and new moon all at the same time, and that makes it rare.
I've got to ask you, because I've heard a lot of people talking about this, even on national television. Some of the articles that I've read, you know, they say that the eclipse means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. It can mean a sign. It could be the second coming. It could have some religious meaning. They say that you shouldn't eat before the eclipse, during the eclipse, 12 hours before the eclipse. Are these all just really, that, you know, are these wives' tales? Is that what they are?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part. This is basically something that happens, and it just happens that it's coming to our country. All right, there'll be another eclipse next year in Antarctica. We won't see it. There'll be another one in 2024, April 8th. It'll go across the United States. But it's nothing to worry about, but you do need to protect your eyes. That is crucial.
We'll talk about that during the course of the program here. We have an entire hour, but the eclipse is happening right now. So if you go outside, you got to wear the right glasses, or don't look into the sun. It will ruin your eyes. It'll burn a hole in your retina. It won't heal. So it's irreversible, basically, is what it is. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But is there any danger of having earthquakes, tsunamis, anything of that nature?
No, none at all.
None.
None at all.
But
we
you've
do
read
get
that, right?
we do get a little bit higher high tides and a little bit
Okay.
lower low tides, but we go through that every new moon anyway.
What does it mean for us here on Earth?
Well, you know, I've looked into it. The Earth is the only place in the entire solar system where you get a perfect total eclipse. So let's go through the planets. Mercury has no moon, no eclipses. Venus, no moon, plus it has clouds. Mars has 2 moons, but they are tiny and they can't cover the sun. And then the rest of the planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, there's nowhere to stand. So it is here on Earth where you can see the beautiful natural phenomenon of the total eclipse.
Does Mars get a little bit of an eclipse?
They
Because
do.
It has 2
They
moons,
do. It has
right?
2 moons, but they are tiny. They're like boulders, basically 30 miles long, chunks of rock, and they are not big enough to completely cover the sun. So in our case, the moon and sun are exactly appearing to be the same size in the sky. The moon can cover the sun exactly, and then we see the beautiful corona surrounding the sun.
Why hasn't this happened since 1918? That's 99 years, nearly 100, and so you're talking about an eclipse that's covering the entire country.
Right.
Of course, the path of totality is in one certain spot. It's 70 miles wide. It crosses down the middle of the country, as we saw in that video. Matter of fact, let's roll that video again, Carrie, the monologue video that we just rolled, because it's the path of totality. It's the red line that goes down. Here's the Earth right here, Dr. White, as you can see. Animation comes up, and then we'll see that red line crisscross. It's the path of totality. So as we see the red line, it'll come up in a moment right here. What does this line represent? You can look at it right here on this monitor.
Represents, well, actually you see several things. The red line is the very center of the moon's shadow where the sun is completely blocked. But then you see darker areas around that. That's places where the sun is partly blocked, and that's how we have it here in Fresno today. The reason it doesn't happen very often going clear across the country is because this only lasts for a few hours. And for instance, it happened in 1979, but most of it was over the Pacific Ocean, and then it came to the Pacific Northwest. So we had a total solar eclipse in 1979 that covered several states, but going clear across the country, that's pretty unusual.
So where's that going off to now?
It's going off into the Atlantic Ocean, but then the eclipse will be finished because the alignment will no longer be perfect and the shadow of the moon will no longer touch the Earth.
Okay, so you have to be within that path of totality, which is about 70 miles wide, to get the full version of the eclipse?
To be able to see the corona and to be able to see the sky get as dark as night, to be able to see the stars in the daytime.
Is this what the eclipse looks like, the moon covering the sun?
This looks to me like phases of the moon.
Okay.
Just going through the phases of the moon. There you see full moon.
Various phases, yeah.
Yeah, and then you see the Terminator moving to the left.
Various shapes that we see. And
the umbra is the shadow. Yeah.
The umbra is the shadow, is that
That's
correct?
right. And the very center of the shadow is called the umbra, and the surrounding shadow is called the penumbra. Now you'll notice that the moon shadow is fairly narrow, and the reason is because the moon is small and it's also far away from the Earth, so it only leaves us with a shadow at the very center of 70 miles wide.
All right. And obviously, I mean, this is an obvious question. It's got to be a full moon, right?
It actually happens during new moon.
What does that mean?
New moon. That's when actually the moon is between the earth and the sun. The moon actually comes up during the daytime with the sun, and it's out all day long with the sun. Ordinarily, you would never notice it because basically the dark side of the moon is facing the earth, and then the moon sets. Full moon, on the other hand, is when you have the sun and then the earth and then the moon. And that's when you can get the lunar eclipses.
So quickly before we go to break, again, why is this so rare? It hasn't happened since 1918. So this only comes along once, maybe twice in a lifetime to see the entire country, our country, being covered, fully covered with an eclipse. Why doesn't it happen more often?
Well, because there's a lot of surface area on the planet, and so it might be in China, it might be over the Pacific Ocean, and it only lasts for a few hours, so it's going to cover one part of the Earth. But there's a lot of other places. It could be in Africa, it could be in Europe, so on and so forth. And
Tell me again why I should be excited. Why? I mean, I don't have too much interest in this, but go ahead and tell me why I should be excited.
It's a very rare event in the sky,
Okay.
and well, like I said, it's something interesting to see.
Okay, so I should take it in.
Yeah, you should go and see it. It's sort of like, well, maybe you want to go and see the Rolling Stones, and you saw them once, and that's enough.
Okay. All right. We're here with Dr. Stephen White. He is the Executive Director of the Fresno State Planetarium. We're glad he's here on this Monday morning. The eclipse going on right now. It ends at about, roughly speaking, maybe 10:20, around 10:30 in the morning. And so if it's really about 10:20 right now, or roughly speaking.
Actually, it's going to go on.
It's going to go on?
It's going to go on till 11:42. The whole eclipse goes for 2 hours and 38 minutes. Started right about 9.
Right about, or shortly after 9?
Yeah, right about
Okay,
shortly after 9. It'll go to
the peak may be at around 10:20, or is
that's
that right?
The peak, but it will continue on till 11:42, and that's when the moon will no
But it
longer
starts
block
to
any of
fade,
the sun.
though, after 10:20.
Yeah, the amount of the sun being blocked is less and less and less.
Yeah.
And reaches 72% right at 10:20.
So if you really want to see the
Go out
full
now.
effects, you got to go out now.
That's right.
Okay, and then come back and watch
It's
the rest
kind
of
of
the
fun.
show.
It's kind of fun to watch it change slowly too as time goes on.
Yeah, but you got to have the right glasses, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Dr. Stephen White is going to be back with me here on Connect with Me. You're watching us on a tape version. Go out and catch the eclipse. Come back and watch us, the rest of the show. Dr. Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor today here on the program. Back in a moment.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
What do you imagine when you think of Fresno State? Is it the buildings, the variety of major departments, the athletic team, or did you think of stars, the galaxy, planets? Fresno State is not only home to the Fresno State Bulldogs, but also home to the Downing Planetarium. The Downing Planetarium is where you can set your imagination free beyond the skies, stars, and moon. It consists of a star theater, a gift shop, and a museum. Here, you can see the stars, the galaxy, and get to know the planets. The planetarium also hosts a variety of shows throughout the year and is open to schools and civic groups from all around. It is also open to the public on weekends. Now, take a chance and travel to the moon. If you miss it, aim for the stars. This is one way Fresno State is giving back to the community by opening its doors for people to see beyond the stars.
This ad is not sponsored by Fresno State or the Downey Planetarium. Additional fee may apply for entrance. Please contact 559-278-4121 for show info or visit www.downeyplanetarium.org.
All right, the Downing
Thank you.
Planetarium out at Fresno State, one of the great places to go and view the stars, if you will, at night, certainly. And Dr. White, talk about the planetarium just briefly here before we get into more of the eclipse, which is happening right now, going until about, what, 11:30 maybe?
That's right, 11:42.
11:42. What about the planetarium?
Well, we are at Fresno State, and we have field trips for kids. We do programs once a month for the public, so you can come out and see our program and then look through the telescope. We'll see Jupiter, anything else that's out. And
Can I see
it's a lot of fun.
Mars?
Yeah, Mars is not so impressive, though, because it's
Why?
it's on the other side of the sun. It looks like a little red dot. But Jupiter, you can see the moons all in a line, and Saturn, you can see those beautiful rings.
Does Jupiter, can you see the different colors on
You
Jupiter?
can. If you look carefully. Most people will look in the telescope and then look away. But if you look for a few seconds, you'll see there's a subtle color variation, and you can see a couple of the cloud bands on Jupiter.
So what are those colors? Are they cloud bands?
They're made from chemicals and cloud bands.
Gases,
And
various
wind blowing
gases.
one way and the other way, and then it causes the differences in the colors.
So the eclipse that's going on right now, a lot of people are maybe looking out the window, peeking out the shade, or, through their blinds, or maybe pulling the curtains back and trying to catch a glimpse. But a lot of people feel, and these are all myths,
Right.
okay, that a lot of cultures, ancient times I'm talking about, felt that when the eclipse happened, that the demons were actually attacking the sun. And what can we do to stop that? You know about some of those. Talk about it.
Sure. Some cultures thought that perhaps a monster was going to eat the sun, but then the sun fights the demon, and it always comes back. You'll notice
Yeah.
it always comes back. But what about this time? That's human nature. You never know. Will it be as it was before? So that's a scary thing to see the sun disappear in the middle of the day, especially if it might not happen in a particular location for many centuries. The Chinese, though, were very good at recording eclipses and predicting eclipses. It was very important to their culture, and they wanted to be able to interpret that according to take what they see in the sky and then interpret the earthly events.
Right. We're not taking phone calls right now because this is a tape program, and so I want to mention that over the air right now. We're on tape right now because Dr. White is he's actually here, but he's not here. We're taping this program in advance, and so everybody at the planetarium's shut down on Monday.
That's right.
Today.
Yes.
Today, right? It's shut down.
Everybody's gone.
And where is everybody, including yourself?
Up in Oregon to see totality.
Okay, why are you driving all the way to Oregon just for the eclipse? I know you missed it in 1979.
That's
you
right.
told me that.
That's right.
Talk about that. Tell that story.
Well, there was a big eclipse in 1979 that came through the Pacific Northwest, so not clear across the country, but it was a big deal. However, nothing like today. People weren't going nuts to buy the glasses. There wasn't a million tourists coming to Oregon like they expect now. I think the difference is the internet. My friends came to me and said, we're going to drive out to Eastern Oregon and see the eclipse. They asked me if I wanted to go, and I said, absolutely. And then I remembered I had a test, an economics test. And so I told them, no, maybe I better stay and take the test. And so they went out, saw the eclipse at 9 in the morning. It was completely cloudy in Salem. You couldn't even see a bit of blue, but it did get as dark as night for a couple of minutes. So I'm going to go back to that same spot. This time it's August, not February, and I want to see the eclipse. So it's my second chance.
In a nutshell, for you, what's the turn on?
Well, I teach astronomy, right? And so I have to explain how it works. And so, well, if I wasn't interested in it, it wouldn't seem right, would it?
No, but what's the turn on with the eclipse?
Well, it's rather rare. I think it's the rarity, the novelty, the fact that we can predict it. That's one thing about it. I mean, we've known for decades that this eclipse is coming to the minute, and being able to calculate things like that is interesting. In fact, being able to, for instance, because we can predict eclipses, we can also use the same mathematics to send a probe to Pluto and hit it right on the money. So it all comes down to being able to solve those sorts of technical problems, and I'm interested in that kind of thing.
How many people are going up to Oregon?
Oregon is expecting 1 million people, but nobody really knows how many will actually show up.
So I've heard, and the internet is blowing up with all this
That's right.
this eclipse stuff. All these stories are coming out. like I've read, you can't get a rental car. They've had more than 20,000 people rent cars there for this weekend, or for the past weekend that just happened, and for Monday. Hotel rooms are scarce, if at all, if you can get one at all. And so people are rushing up there. Are they also rushing to various parts of the country where the path of totality is taking place, including Charleston, South Carolina?
Oh yeah, there's going to be tourism all over the country.
So there's a mad rush to the middle of the country.
Right, from the north and the south, going to that path of totality.
Okay, the internet is blowing up with this story.
That's right. And so it's hard to get a flight. It's impossible to get a hotel room, rental cars, like you said.
Okay, you teach astronomy. Is the eclipse going to affect electricity?
No.
How about cell phone?
And the reason is because we do have solar power, but it's such a small percentage of the grid, it won't really affect it. And for instance, totality only lasts a few minutes. So, no.
How about cell phone use?
Only if a lot of people are on their phone and you have the network overloaded more than usual. But there's no effect from the shadow of the moon on the cell phone technology itself.
Any other possible effects that we've heard about?
Chickens will go to find a place to sleep.
Okay, well,
like
what
that.
about your animals? Will the
yeah.
animals get scared? Do they know something
They won't
is
be
coming?
scared, but they may think that evening is coming because it's going to get slowly dimmer and dimmer and dimmer.
And how dark will it get?
Well, in Fresno, it's noticeably dark. I mean, it'll still be brightly lit, but noticeably darker than usual. If you look out, it'll sort of
Will
be
it be like a cloudy day?
Cloudy day, yeah. A cloudy day, but a blue sky with the sun out. That's how it is. And so if you didn't know there was an eclipse, you might look around and say, what's going on? Who turned down the sun?
Right. So but it won't look like nighttime, right?
Not here. Not here.
Not here,
It'll
but
look more like about, 8 p.m., things like that, when the sun is starting to go down. And
Sort of like
that.
dusk.
Yeah.
Okay, it'll look like dusk.
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. Stephen White is here. He is the executive director, of course, of the planetarium out at Fresno State, and he teaches. You teach what, astronomy, and what else?
I teach astronomy and physics, and I have 2 large astronomy classes, usually with at least 100 students apiece.
Is this a popular topic right now with students?
It is. It's actually, astronomy is very popular, and it has been for years. They come and they learn the constellations, learn how to use a telescope. They're interested in the space program and what we're going to do next. For instance, when are we going to go to Mars, or maybe back to the moon? Yeah.
Or the moon.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
All right.
right.
We're back with Dr. White here on Connect with Me, Dr. Thomas Casagrande. He's another doctor of a different kind, talking about glasses, right? These are from Dr. Thomas Casagrande. He's one of our sponsors. Back in just a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
Not sure what you're watching? Want to see what's coming up next? Or just want to browse what's on without the hassle of flipping channels? Your wish has come true. Now you can view schedules for all the digital TV channels available in the Central Valley. Get local weather updates and forecasts, and listen to nationally syndicated Biz Talk Radio, all on KVHF 4.1. Rescan your TV now, then tune in to Digital Channel 4.1 to start enjoying the all-new TV Guide.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
As you know, there are cities like Charleston, Nashville, St. Louis, Kansas City, sort of, and Salem, Oregon, all in the path.
Yeah.
But what if you're not in that path? Most of us won't be. What are you going to see?
Right. Well, you're still going to see something. You'll see a partial eclipse, and it's still going to be cool. You'll see something, and it'll be cool. So if you're in that band, if you're lucky enough to be in that band at that time during that day, you'll see the sun get totally blocked out. But if you get away from that band, what you're going to see in the sky is it's going to kind of look like a cookie with a bite taken out of it. Okay, and the further you get away, the smaller that bite will be. But you'll definitely see something.
My kids were looking out the window last night asking about it. We were looking at the graphic of the path, and they were, Mom, we're so bummed out we can't be there. What are we going to see? So what are we going to see here in New York?
It's still going to be cool. You'll get about 70% coverage of the sun, and about 2:45 in the afternoon will be the prime time to look up.
2:45.
So, so New York's a spot where you'll see it. How about Los Angeles?
Los Angeles as well. 62%. At about 10:20 local time in LA.
Let's go to the Midwest, my favorite spot in America, the Midwest. Let's pick Cleveland.
Cleveland, a little bit better, 80% at about 2:30.
Do you think LeBron will be there to see it? Or no.
If you're gonna, you can't avoid this.
Yes.
And you know, it's kind of being one with the universe. It's a reminder of where we are.
And we'll need clear skies, I should say that. So watch us and your local weather guys for that.
Yes, that's really imperative too. But also imperative, you have to watch responsibly, especially if you're going to see the partial eclipse, right? And you need to. There are special glasses, and there are a lot of counterfeits out there. So beware. I know you guys are advocating and endorsing 4 different companies, but what should we know about?
Yeah, be really careful about it, because looking at the sun is not a good idea. It can cause damage to your eyes, and you're going to want to look up. And you mentioned in the partial, especially in the partial areas, when it gets totally covered, then you can actually take these glasses off. But that's only when it's totally covered it's safe to do that. So for most everybody else, and at those times when it's not totally covered, you're going to want to look at it, but you're going to want to look at it with the right protection. So these are an example.
What
look
about
how
those
dark
cardboard?
You can't see anything. Right? I mean, you put these things on, it gets really, really dark.
Bright lights.
Yeah, it's like, I can make faces at you and you won't even know. Yeah.
Can we make those cardboard boxes or anything?
You can do that, yeah. So you can get glasses like this, and you can find out about these things on NASA.gov or AAS, which is the American Astronomical Society.org. You can find out more about these types of glasses and where to get them. But you can make the cardboard box. There's instructions on how to do that too. You can look at those websites, put a pinhole in it, and you put a white piece of paper, and you can look through there and see the eclipse. But if you can get some of these glasses, do that. Get outside and enjoy this. This is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity here in the United States. It's U.S. only. It's going to affect every part of our country, and it's just a wonderful reminder of where we are.
All right, that was courtesy of ABC News, of course. Good Morning America. They had Michael Massimino on. He's a former astronaut. He flew, of course, on the International Space Station, did some work on the Space Hubble telescope. He made some repairs there, so he knew what he was talking about. And you have to wear these special glasses when you view the, eclipse. And so talk about these glasses here, and we need to get some close-ups.
These glasses are have a mylar film, and they are very, very dark. And if you look at a bright light, you won't see anything.
Go ahead and hold that up.
In fact,
hold
if
that up to camera two.
You just put them on outside.
Camera two's in the corner
like
there.
this.
See?
Yeah, if you just put them on over here like this, I can't see anything, but you can look right at the sun.
What about fakes? What about imposters? What about?
That's the thing. People set up shop and have been making fake glasses, and the ISO is the organization that certifies them, and well, it's easy to print ISO on your glasses, and so you really can't go by that. What you really should look at is who made the glasses, and there's a list of vendors on NASA.gov and also on the AAS website. That's American Astronomical Society. And our particular glasses were made by Rainbow Symphony, and we've been getting glasses from them for 25 years. So these are safe glasses. If you have some glasses and you're not sure if they're good, one way to get an idea is if you see any light through them at all, they are probably not safe. You should only be able to see the sun.
We can't see anything when we put these on right now.
That's right.
Right? It's completely dark.
Yeah, it's
so if I put these on right now, I can't see a thing. It's like looking at, it's like having a blindfold on.
That's right. But if you were to look at the sun, you would see the sun comfortably. And then when you look away, you will feel no spotting in your eyes.
Okay. Okay. And when should you, when is the specific time that you should put these on? You should put them on and then look at the sun, obviously.
Right. It's the best advice I give is just to look down, put on the glasses, and then look up at the sun. But remember, don't take them off until you look down again. You don't want to take them off.
Don't take them off while you're looking up.
That's right.
Okay, so there are specific rules on how to do it. Okay, you have a pair of goggles
I
here
do. Now,
hold those up.
If you can't find any eclipse glasses, you can use welding goggles. But you want to make sure you have number 14 welding glass, which is the very, very darkest.
So what is this right here?
This is number 14.
And this is like a welding goggle?
Yeah, it's a welding goggle. Actually, these are my welding goggles. And so you can look at the sun with these, but you've got to make sure you have number 14 welding glass.
Okay, so put those on just for a second and just see what those look like. So
Sure.
So
And-
those will protect your
Yeah,
eyes
they'll-
from the sun.
That's right. They'll protect your eyes, and you'll see a green shaded sun, just like that.
Okay, here's the most obvious question. If the moon is covering the sun, why can't we look at the moon covering the sun without glasses? The moon is covering the sun. We're not looking directly at the sun. It's covered.
If you're in the path of totality, you can. You can, for those 2 minutes when the alignment is perfect and the moon is covering the sun, you can look. But in Fresno, it's not completely covered, so you can't look at it because you'll still be looking at a fraction of the sun.
About 72% coverage here.
Yeah, and so even though you have 28% left, that's enough to hurt your eyes.
So if you're traveling to LA, which is about it depends on how fast you drive. You know, if you drive fast, you can make it 3.5 hours. But generally speaking, if you go to downtown LA, it's 4 hours from here.
That's right.
And so they only get 68% coverage.
That's right.
Why?
Because they're further away from the center of the shadow, and so less of the sun will be covered.
All right. And the glasses, again, have to be certified by the International Organization for Standardization. That's called ISO for
That's
short.
right.
What's this little box you have here down here?
This is actually the same
Hold that
material.
up.
This is
Hold
the
that
same
up.
material,
Really high. There you go.
except it has a the film in it. So you can just hold this up and view. It's better for sharing, and or if
okay.
you don't want to mess with the glasses.
All right. You brought a little
it's the same
pinhole here,
material.
too. What, hold that up.
Now-
Explain what that is.
Actually, there's a.
What is that? That's a mirror.
That's a mirror.
Okay, hold that up so we can see it, Doctor.
People talk about
Hold that up
making
higher.
a pinhole box, but I found a better way to actually view the eclipse, and everybody can share it. All you need is a mirror, just a flat mirror, and then a piece of biofolder, or you could use dark paper.
Okay.
Cut a hole in it about the size of a dime.
Yeah.
And then tape that
Hold
on
that
there.
up.
So you'd want to tape this on like this.
So you tape it on.
Yeah. Now, you could go with this. What you would do is point it at the sun and then get a beam of light. You've probably done that before. And then turn that down, put it on the side of a building, on a shaded wall, or maybe shine it into a porch. And you will see an image of the sun, and you will see the eclipse. All
With
right?
this?
With this. And so this is a lot better than a pinhole because everybody can watch it. And if you get tired of holding it, you can glue this to a stick. I made one of those, and then put it in a bucket of dirt or sand, and it
get
will
that
stay.
out in a
It'll
moment
stay
here.
pointed.
Yeah.
And then all you have to do is twist it every few
Let me
minutes.
see that again. So let me hold this up. This
It
is just
doesn't
like,
need to.
this is
It
like a
doesn't need to be
makeup mirror.
perfect.
You can get a makeup mirror,
makeup
for
mirror.
God's sake.
Yeah, and a
Okay,
piece of
then
heavy paper.
A piece of paper, and you cut that hole out the size of a dime.
That's right.
You
Tape it on.
it, and then reflect it off something,
And
a
then
building or whatever.
And just reflect it. Get the sun's light, reflect it onto a building, and choose a shadowed wall so that you can see it better.
Okay. All right.
And,
We're going to take another break. Dr. Stephen White is here, and we're glad you're here, Dr. White.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You know, I know you're not
gotta get
really
out.
here right now. You're up in Oregon, but this is a special tape program. It's recorded, so no phone calls on this day. Dr. Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor. If you're out watching the eclipse, make sure you have a pair of these certified glasses by ISO, or maybe you can make a homemade, you know,
I would make both.
You
I
can
would
make
do
a
it.
homemade contraption just like this, a mirror and a piece of cardboard and a little hole in it, and there you go. Just don't ruin your eyes, because if you burn your retina, it's irreversible. It won't heal.
That's right.
Back in a moment after this from Dr. Thomas Casagrande. At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're the save energy, save time, save money place. The Energy Star qualified #1 rated high efficiency Cabrio from Whirlpool Place. You heard right. Right now, save big on select Whirlpool Cabrio laundry pairs and pay no interest when paid in full within 6 months. At the hometown low price, think outside the big box place. Since 1951, Ventura TV Appliance Center. We're working hard to be your place.
The following is a list of celebrities you will not see on MeTV programs. Charlie Sheen, Lindsay Lohan, Snooki, Paris Hilton, Perez Hilton, Honey Boo Boo, Justin Bieber, Simon Cowell, Chris Brown, Miley Cyrus, and the Real Housewives of any place. This is who you will see on MeTV programs. Lucy, Ralph, Mary, Perry, Gilligan, Kenner, Spock, Batman, Rowdy, Festus, and the Beaver. MeTV. Thanks for watching.
Back here with Dr. Stephen White of the Fresno State Planetarium, and we're getting obviously all excited about this eclipse that's taking place right now. This is a pre-recorded program, so no phone calls. And Dr. White, what do you have here? What is this?
I have a model we use when we teach astronomy. It just shows the sun, the moon, and the earth. And today we have a very special alignment where the moon is directly between the earth and the sun.
Over here just a little bit.
Right.
I'll move this out of the way just so we can see it a little bit better. Go ahead and explain what's going on here.
Sure. Of course, on the moon they have day and night just like we do, but daytime and nighttime last 2 weeks apiece. But it's daytime here and nighttime there. We're right down here in Fresno, and most of the shadow of the moon is falling on the
So how is it
Earth?
that where's the moon on this? Where's the moon?
This
the moon
is the
is
moon.
right there.
That's the moon.
Obviously, that's the sun.
Yeah.
The sun is so much bigger than our planet Earth and the moon. How is it that the moon can cover the entire
this
sun?
is not to scale. Yeah, this is not to scale.
But still, how is it that the moon can cover the sun?
Yeah, I can tell you. It has to do with the number 400. Okay, so it comes down to math again. It goes like this. The moon is 400 times smaller than the sun. Or in other words, the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon.
Okay.
But the sun is also 400 times further away. And the fact that you have 400 occurring twice, it's a coincidence really, makes the sun and the moon appear to be exactly the same in our sky.
So the fact that it's 400 times further away
That's right.
from the sun?
From the Earth.
From the Earth.
From the Earth. So basically you've got this giant sun, but it's very far away, so it looks small. And you have this small moon, but it's close. So in our sky, they look the same.
So how far is the moon from the sun? Roughly
Basically
speaking.
93 million miles. Okay, it's a 250,000 miles from the Earth to the moon, and essentially 93 million miles to get out to the sun. So this device is not to scale at all. It's just to show that we have an alignment.
Right. What's that on the other side of the sun there?
Oh, this is just another moon you can use to show the phases of the moon. Something like that,
okay.
something like that.
That's just another
Actually, I think this is to show
experiment there,
day and
yeah.
night here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're here, we get daytime and nighttime there. That's how it goes.
Okay.
Like that.
All right. Very, very interesting. And so the 400 rule comes into effect.
That's right.
Basically. Do students that you talk to about this, do they understand all this, or does it get too complex at certain times?
They understand the basics, especially if I can find a way to explain it. In fact, that's what we do on the very first day of school. I take an Earth globe, and then I have a bunch of balls, and we have to figure out which one would be the moon. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you have a regular 12-inch Earth globe, the one that turns out to be the moon is essentially a tennis ball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I show them, if this is the Earth, our Earth globe, 12 inches in diameter, tennis ball, where do they go? Well, clear on the other side of the classroom. Okay,
Right.
30 feet away.
Are you familiar with the solar eclipse that took place in 1932?
No.
You're not?
I'm not. And what happened then?
I'm going to roll a piece of videotape that has some sound on it. I didn't mean
Okay.
to throw you off
That's
there,
okay.
Doctor. I
No, no.
apologize. But, back in 1932, they had this article in the New York Times predicting that the next big solar eclipse is going to take place on August 21st, 2017. So right now, with sound, I want to roll a videotape. It's called Solar Eclipse 1932. Check this out.
And here we are.
Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, a total solar eclipse is not just something that you see. A total eclipse of the sun is more than that. It's an experience. Every fiber of you gets involved during those few precious moments of totality. This is a painting rendered of the January 24th, 1925 eclipse by Howard Russell Butler. He did several eclipse paintings, and they're property of the American Museum of Natural History. And this is what the sun looked like on that particular morning here in New York City. A beautiful, beautiful sight indeed. This is what people wait years and years to see, a total eclipse of the sun. And again, the beautiful diamond ring effects that grace our skies, either just as totality is about to begin or just as totality comes to an end. They remain indelibly implanted into our memories, and they remain a lifetime once you have been there to see a total eclipse of the sun sitting in the shadow of the moon. Now, how long have we been waiting? How long have scientists been waiting to see this eclipse? In August of 1932, there was a total eclipse of the sun that passed across the northeastern United States. It went from Montreal, Canada, to Cape Cod. One of the foremost eclipse experts of that day, of that time, Samuel Alfred Mitchell, pointed out that that particular eclipse in 1932 would be the last good eclipse, logistically speaking, to get to until August 21st, 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the New York Times from August 1932. That's the headline. It seems very strange and weird to see a day so close, just a week away, appearing in a newspaper 85 years ago. And here we are, all these years later, and it's almost here. And here you see the shadow moving across North America. That little dot that you see right in the middle of the shadow, that is the place that you want to be.
So how do you like them apples? That was 85 years ago. The New York Times printed the headline that the next big eclipse will take place on August 21st, 2017. Amazing prediction by somebody there in the New York Times, by somebody, they did a whole story, and someone predicted that it would take place on this day. How does that happen? How does one make a prediction like that?
Well, we know
how do we know?
We know the orbit of the moon and the sun quite precisely, so we know where things will be in the future, so you can calculate. Today we have computers and can calculate in thousands of years into the future. Back then it was a little bit harder to do with slide rules and logarithms, but you can still do it. It just takes a little more go power.
So can we predict more accurately now in the future about these eclipses and what effects they'll have on our Earth?
We can calculate out thousands of years.
Thousands
to find
of years?
Find all the eclipses, yeah.
Really?
That's right.
We can.
Yeah.
How did they do it with the lack of technology that we have today back in 1932?
Well, they had the equations. So that's the first thing you're going to put into the computer are equations. They had all those equations. They would just have to calculate everything out by hand, which is more work. You have to be more careful that you don't make an error.
Computers were different back then, though. I don't even know that
they
had
They didn't have computers. They had
Okay,
slide
they didn't
rules.
have computers.
They had slide rules. They had tables of logarithms. They had the equations you need. So you have everything you need to do it, but you had to basically do it with pencil and paper.
And that's what they did, and that was the prediction.
And they were right on the money, which is cool.
Here in Fresno, it's happening right now, the 2017 version of the eclipse, and the internet, if you go on there, but you know, I think the eclipse is being shown live on the internet as well, at least from what I read. And so people can, you know, if you don't want to go outside and see it, and you don't have to worry about wearing the special glasses if you're looking at your computer screen and watching the eclipse, because they have special cameras that are pointing up toward the sun.
Right. So you can see totality no matter where you are.
You can see totality even if you're in China, if you're on the internet, if they allow you to get on the internet when you're in China. But they do, but it'll be limited. And so what are we to know, and what do you want what do you want me to learn from this day, a special day, of course, in your life and in the lives of many around the country?
Well, just take advantage of it. It's a special and beautiful celestial event. It's beautiful in the way a rainbow is beautiful. And when we see a rainbow in the sky, everybody looks at it. This is something that is just a lot more rare.
All right. Dr. Stephen White, the planetarium is closed today out at Fresno State, but open every other day. You can go out there and talk to Dr. White. You can go out there and tour the place. And it's been open since when?
Since 2000.
Okay, yeah, it's a long time,
That's
17 years.
And it was made possible by a grant from the Downing family. And so it's the Downing Planetarium at Fresno State. And we've been open for 17 years. We have thousands of school kids come every single year, and they book their field trips, and then we do public shows once a month on the weekends.
Right. How big a building is it? We saw the video earlier.
It's about 5,000 square feet altogether, and we have a 30-foot dome with a star projector.
How many telescopes?
We have a few telescopes, 3 or 4 telescopes. We have a big telescope we take out. It's a 17-inch telescope. And we use that when public come out, and then we make a line and everybody gets to look.
Let me ask you a question before we go to break, because we've seen specials on this, and we have, in fact, they've aired on Fox News, they've aired, I don't know, all over the internet. It's the conspiracy theory. Did we fake the moon landing?
Absolutely not. Do you want to talk about
How
it?
do you know that for sure?
In many ways. For one, 300,000 Americans worked to put men on the moon, and they all got paid over almost a decade. Okay, so everybody was getting paychecks to get that project done, and they did it.
But
Now-
everybody is saying that the radiation belt that
Yeah.
I want to take a tight shot of this here just real quick. Here is the Earth right
That's right.
here, and you got the radiation belt that goes around the Earth.
That's right.
I've read that there is no spaceship that's built by man that could get through that radiation belt without severe damage to the craft and obviously to the human beings inside.
Okay, well, we do have a magnetic field, and it does trap particles. Those are the Van Allen radiation belts. But you can fly through them. You're only in there for a short time, and you can get through it. The amount of total dose of radiation is not that big, and in fact, they went to the moon. Now, there's one thing that recently has been possible. They left a lot of stuff on the moon. For instance, when they land on the moon, the lower stage does the landing, the legs, that's still there. And now, finally, after all these years, we have a spacecraft that's out there orbiting the moon with a high-resolution camera, and it's mapping the moon, and guess what they see? The landing site of Apollo 11, Apollo 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17. They can see those rovers. They can even see Neil Armstrong's footprints on the moon.
With those close-up, with the
yes,
close-ups.
Yes. In fact, there was a crater. When they flew over the crater at the very last minute when they were coming in for a landing, they almost crashed in that crater. And
You're talking about Apollo 11.
11, yeah. They almost crashed in that crater. They flew over it and landed. And then as Buzz was setting up all the scientific equipment, Neil Armstrong walked over to that crater because he wanted to see where they had almost crashed. He wanted to see it for himself. And you can still see the little trail of his footprints out to that crater.
How did they know, before we go to break, how did they know that the lunar module at that time, which had, it was two separate...
Two stages.
Two stages. You had the legs of the lunar module.
Descent module.
Yeah, and then you had the cabin, which
That's right.
which
had
ascended.
another rocket engine in it.
Yeah,
so
another
they could
rocket
go.
engine
That's right.
to lift off. How did they know that was going to work?
They didn't know. They didn't know. All they could do was build it with the utmost care, and it was built by people at Grumman, and basically they devoted themselves to it. They worked
That's
7
in New
days
York,
a week.
right?
Yeah, that's right.
Grumman is in New York?
That's right, and they built it very carefully because
How long did it take them to build that lunar module?
a good 7 years, and it was maybe one of the hardest things to build for the entire project, and it had to work because, for instance, if the upper stage didn't fire, those astronauts are not coming back from the moon.
Okay, and what would happen?
They would live for a few hours to a few days until their oxygen ran out.
And then that would have been it.
Yeah,
but that
that would have
obviously,
been it.
thank God, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. And one of the reasons it didn't happen is they designed a very simple rocket engine. Basically, two chemicals, when you put them together, they ignite. So essentially, it's called hypergolic fuel.
How did they know it was going to work with the atmosphere on the moon? It's completely different than
Well,
the Earth.
there's no atmosphere on the moon. And
There's zero atmosphere.
There's no atmosphere.
There's no oxygen at all.
No, there's no
Zero.
atmosphere. Zero. They had to bring everything with them.
Okay.
And so
but
basically,
how did they know it was going to work with zero oxygen?
you don't need oxygen to make a rocket engine work. In fact, in this case on the moon, they had just two chemicals, an oxidizer and a fuel. Put them together, they ignite spontaneously.
Wow.
Okay. Ordinarily, you have rocket engines that might have liquid oxygen. They bring their oxygen with them, actually, and then they have a fuel. You can use kerosene, you can use liquid hydrogen,
Right.
you can even use methane. You
Yeah.
just need an oxidizer and a fuel.
Yeah. All right. Glad you cleared that
But
up, Dr. White.
nobody knew if it was really going to work. And so when they did make it down to the moon, everyone was relieved. And when they made it home, it was a triumph.
That was a bigger relief to make it home.
Yeah, to make it
'cause you
home.
wouldn't want to be stuck there. Anyway, all right,
That's
Dr.
right.
Stephen White is here. The planetarium closed today because of the eclipse. It's amazing. Talking about the eclipse, there's the sun right in front of me there. Unbelievable. Okay, the moon is covering the sun about, 72% here in the city of Fresno. It's still going on until about 11:42, so you still have time to go out and see the partial eclipse or go on the internet and watch it as well if you have a computer. Back after this from Dr. Thomas Casagrande, 2020 Optometrics.
When you're looking for Whirlpool innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, we'll help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified Whirlpool appliances save you energy and money and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
At 20/20 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 20/20 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. I'm so glad he's here, Dr. Stephen White, the planetarium director out there at Fresno State. And the video that we just saw pretty much explains in detail how the eclipse is going to work and what you need to know. Am I right?
Yes, it had all the pictures. You saw a total eclipse, an annular eclipse, a partial eclipse, and even a lunar eclipse, I believe.
Yeah. And what's the difference between, say, a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse? Explain that.
That's a good question, yes. A lunar eclipse is when the moon passes through the Earth's shadow. Okay. Right now, the Earth is passing through the moon's shadow. And we get lunar eclipses. They're much more common because anyone on the nighttime side of the Earth can see it. It'll happen during a full moon. Okay. And the moon will go plowing through our shadow. Takes about 4 hours. And when we have it, the moon turns dark red. Okay, and so people have taken in recent years to calling it blood moon. It absolutely has nothing to do with blood at all.
When will our sun burn out?
About 5 billion years from now. It actually, basically, it is a hydrogen, big sphere of hydrogen, and the nuclear reaction, I should say, the nuclear reaction that it runs is it turns hydrogen into helium, and that's a process that produces energy. And in about 5 billion years from now, the sun will run out of hydrogen. And so it will run out of its nuclear fuel.
How do we know that?
We know how much hydrogen the sun has, and we know how fast it's burning. And so from there, it's a calculation.
Just get your calculator out,
yeah,
right?
Basically, you could look at the gas gauge in your car. You're on half a tank. You know how fast you're driving and how many miles you're covering, and you could figure out how much further you're going to get.
So once the sun burns out, what will that do to planet Earth and the other planets in our solar system?
Well, what happens actually is very interesting. As a star like the sun gets older, the inner helium core now starts to collapse. And as it collapses, it gets hotter and hotter. It will light up the hydrogen around it and then continue to collapse. And so those two actions will cause the sun to produce even more energy than it does now. It will start to shine like 10,000 suns. So essentially, before it dies, it flares up. And
what will happen to Earth?
Well, as that happens and the sun gets more luminous, it will begin to push away its outer layers, and so it will grow in size and become red. So it will turn into a star called a red giant. Now, with a star. Think about Fresno and 10,000 suns. That
Okay.
would not be good. So yeah, it will cook the Earth. The oceans will actually boil. The water on Earth will be driven away, and Earth will be left orbiting the sun as a barren ball of rock. And that's the future of Earth, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Right. Okay. And so that's basically the future. But you know, I've read probably false articles that the sun will suck up the Earth, and it will draw it in, and the Earth essentially will burn up.
Well, it will definitely vaporize Mercury and Venus. Nobody really knows, will it get big enough to vaporize the Earth or not? Okay, so it may be that the Earth will remain orbiting a red giant star, but even the red giant star doesn't last forever, because the outer layers continue to expand, and then eventually what's left is the very core of the sun. It'll be about the size of Earth, extremely hot, a dead star called a white dwarf, and that's the end of the sun.
Okay, so what happens to the other planets, like you know, like Pluto?
For instance, well, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, they'll all be out there and continuing to
What
orbit.
happens to Mars?
It'll still be there.
Okay, they'll all still be there.
They'll still be there orbiting, because most of the mass of the sun will still remain. So the gravity will be there, and they will continue to orbit. But the sun will be very faint. For instance, when it's a white dwarf, it will be about 1,000 times fainter than it is now.
Okay. Before we run out of time, you brought a bucket of dirt with you. Push that in the middle there and toward camera 2 and explain what this is. More towards the middle.
Okay.
More towards the middle. There you go. Right there.
Right there.
Okay, what is that?
This is my alternative to the pinhole viewer cardboard box, and it actually works much better, and it's very simple to make.
For people who don't know, that's a bucket right there. It looks
just
like
a bucket. It's a rice cooker.
It looks like a rice cooker,
That's right.
but it has dirt in it.
But you could use any kind of bucket. Just put some dirt in it. What you need is a mirror, and then get a piece of heavy paper, cut a hole the size of a dime, tape them on, get a stick. I have a ruler here, it doesn't need to be, and glue it on or tape it on. Now what you would want to do is point this toward the sun and get a spot of light. Don't look at that spot of light. Reflect that onto a building, maybe a shaded wall or under your porch. And well, what you'll have is a spot of light, but that will be an image of the sun. The dirt is just to hold the stick in place.
But don't look in the mirror.
Don't look in the mirror, because it will be very bright.
Reflect it off of something, like
That's
a
right.
wall.
Yeah, like a wall. And then you'll see the eclipse. You won't see a spot of light like this spot. You will see a crescent.
All right, so we're approaching 11 o'clock now in the morning on Monday, and the eclipse has about 42 more minutes to go, roughly speaking.
That's right.
42, 43 minutes. Yeah. So during that last 40 or 42 minutes or so, what can we expect to see here in Fresno?
Well, you'll see the sun start to get brighter and brighter. You'll see less and less coverage if you're looking at it with eclipse glasses.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to mention, say you don't have anything and you just want to look, go under a tree, because all of those thousands of leaves make tiny pinholes. And then you'll look under and you'll see little crescents all lit up. Okay?
Right.
And so you'll see that changing shape too.
And talk about the telescopes that you have at the planetarium.
We have several. We have a 16-inch computer-controlled telescope with a digital camera, and we use that for our students. They do research projects, and we train them. We also have a telescope up in the mountains that belongs to the physics department, and Dr. Ringwald runs that. And so we do research, so we can actually go online and point the telescope, take data, and get that data. And then we have telescopes for the public. We take those out, and I have a student helper help them point, and so the public can come out and see Jupiter
free of
and
charge?
Saturn. Yeah, free. That's free.
Okay.
We charge for our show, but the telescope is free.
All right.
That's right. So that's a lot of
what
fun.
times is the planetarium open?
The next time will be August 25th and 26th. We'll have that, and then we'll have September. And check our webpage, and you can find the dates.
What's the webpage?
It's www.downing-planetarium.org, or you could just Google Fresno Planetarium and you'll find us.
You'll find it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. White, very
Thank
much.
you.
Enjoy this day. I appreciate
thank
your
you so
appearance
much.
here on Connect with Me, and come back again.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. My pleasure to meet you, and thanks for all the great information, the
Thank you.
insight to what's happening today.
I'm
it's
glad.
happening right now. Another 40 minutes or so left, 42 minutes to be exact, left in the Eclipse 2017 version. Remember, if you go outside, cover your eyes with those protective glasses. They got to be actually sponsored by ISO. Okay, so make sure and protect yourself. We'll see you next time here on Connect with Me on MeTV Fresno. Protect your eyes. Enjoy the eclipse.